morning. My name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting a company update from Labrador Gold, which trades on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange under the symbol LAB. Joining me today is Lab's President and CEO, Roger Moss. Roger, how are you doing today?
Very well, thanks, Megan. It's good to be back here and to give this update to our shareholders and shareholders to be.
Absolutely. And before we get into the latest press release, for those who are new to Labrador Gold's story, could you give us an overview of the company and your Kingsway project in Newfoundland?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are working in Newfoundland at our Kingsway project. This is our corporate disclaimer, so there are forward-looking statements in the presentation, as is usually the case in these junior mining company presentations. So with that, we can look here at where we're located. Essentially, we're located on the island of Newfoundland near the town of Gander. And what we see in this map here are a few things. One is our Kingsway property, which is shown here in the blue color, and pretty much surrounded by Newfound Gold's Queensway North project, which is shown in the mustard yellow color. So that's sort of the land position between the two of us in this area. And the other thing that we see here is the Keat Zone, which is where Newfound Gold made the discovery back in 2020. Incredible intersection, just about 93 grams a ton over 19 meters. And that's really when I started to look in some detail at this area. And one of the first things that struck me was this Appleton fault zone and how closely it is related to the gold occurrences in the area, and specifically the gold occurrences on Newfound Gold's Queensway property, and where they had found that great intersection at the Keat Zone. So we went after these licenses pretty aggressively and managed to pick them up in 2020. And really, since then, we've been doing an awful lot of work. We've made 4 grassroots discoveries, which we can see here. The first one was at Big Vein, which continues to be our main area, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail shortly. But we also had 3 other discoveries at Golden Glove, Pristine, and Midway. So of the 5 grassroots targets that we actually developed to drill, we were successful in 4 of them, which is a pretty good success rate, and that was in the space of about 18 months. So as you can tell, we've been pretty busy, and this slide sums up some of those discoveries. It's a bit of a lot to go through, but you can see what we've done, sort of starting in April of 2021 when we started our first drilling, and we've really been drilling ever since, other than short breaks for Christmas and when like right now, the roads are just too wet and muddy to access the drills during the spring breakup. So other than those 2 periods in the end of 2021 and now and the end of 2022, we've been drilling consistently. We've drilled now about almost 70,000 meters of the planned 100,000. So we have about 30,000 left, and that's what we're going to be doing this year.
And today, Labrador Gold had some more news from your Big Vein area. Could you walk us through the press release?
Yeah, well, this is the map that was in the press release, and it's quite a significant update from the maps that we've put out in the past. And this really results from the great work that our geos on site have been doing over the last few months, and more particularly during breakup when the drilling has stopped. They've been relogging some core, looking at the old assays and trying to figure out where that gold fits into the whole system. And so we'll go into the modeling a little bit later, but in terms of this news release, some of the big things to point out: the discovery of a new zone called the Green Mantle Zone. We found we've had actually 2 holes into that, but the one that was in this news release was a 5 gram per ton of gold over just under 3 meters, and that included a 22 gram per ton higher grade interval of over 0.4 meters. And this green mantle zone, as I mentioned, there are a few holes in it now, and it underlies the HTC zone that our shareholders will be more familiar with. And the HTC zone is where some of the highest grades have come from in the past. In addition to that, we've extended our Big Vein Southwest. If I can turn this on, and this is so down in this area, right around here, we did some pretty aggressive step outs, both down to the southwest here and up to the northeast. And this is about a 50-meter step out that we're looking at just under 4 grams over 3 meters, with a higher grade interval of 12 grams over half meter in the one hole, and another one with 9 meters of almost 2 grams a ton, which included a higher grade interval as well over 1.6 meters. So this is developing nicely. It's still open to the southwest, and if we go up to the north, right up here on the top of the page is where we did a 100-meter step out to the front from our last drilling, and we intersected this 10-meter interval of 1 gram a ton, which included a slightly higher interval of 2 grams over 2 meters. So again, a big step out over here, 100 meters, and actually this hole in that step out also included visible gold. So we know that we've seen visible gold at HTC and Big Vein down around this area here. So it's really nice to continue to see that visible gold up in the north, especially on such a big step out.
And in the release, you also mentioned an update in the modeling of the system and gold distribution throughout Big Vein. Could you walk us through this new interpretation?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's pretty exciting because it gives us a lot more work to do. And before we go, I'm just going to point out what we're going to look at. We're basically going to look at this area and these faults, but we're going to look at them from the side. So we're going to look kind of in this direction here. So we're going to be looking in that direction. And what they are is basically just some shots of a leapfrog model that our project geologist has put together. And this one right here is basically, as I mentioned, we're looking pretty much west here, and what we see is these faults that I showed earlier on the plan view. We can see in here the gold in the HTC zone, gold in the Big Vein zone. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, so the Big Vein zone up here, HTC zone down here, and then deeper down, the green mantle zone. So the thing to notice here is that these are still open in this. Oh, no, that's off. Okay, in that direction, and these are open this direction, and probably in this direction are a Big Vein zone down here remains open down this direction. So, and this green mantle zone open down this direction as well. Now, the interesting to think about here, in addition to these zones and how they're open, is a new interpretation that we have of the Appleton fault zone. In our previous interpretation, the Appleton fault zone was running to the east of Big Vein the occurrence. But now what we're thinking is that the Appleton fault zone actually runs through it, and it's shown here in this diagram, this fault right here. And what we see is that this fault, at least in our current interpretation, seems to offset this fault down to here. So this has moved that way, and what that opens up is this area in here, because if that moved, then it's quite possible that the HTC zone has moved, and so this could potentially be the continuation of the HTC zone down to the southwest. Now you can see that we haven't drilled many holes down there at all, but that's a very good target to look for the for the offset of the HTC zone up in this area. So lots of work to be done here. It's looking really good. I'm very impressed with the modeling that they've done. And if we just go to the next slide, I think there's yeah, this just adds in. So it's the same view looking west. You can see the Black Shale Fault up northern end, the southern end, the Appleton Fault Zone, our current interpretation, and all the different mineralized zones. But what I've done here is I've added the rock types, and it's quite remarkable that for the most part, this area over here in blue is sandstone, siltstone, and there's very little in terms of mineralization there. The mineralization seems to really like this green color, these green colors, which are green shales, and hence the name Green Mantle. So the green shales seem to be closely associated with the mineralization, but also spatially related to these fault zones. So I think we're getting a much clearer understanding of the controls on the mineralization at Big Vein, and so that's really good, and it's going to really enable us to do some really focused drilling, and hopefully come up with some more step outs, as well as deeper drilling to find the extension of this HTC zone.
Now, as you've mentioned, Big Vein has now been extended to 722 meters in strike length. Does the company plan to continue to step out along strike?
Yeah, absolutely. It's and I'm going to go back here a little for a minute, and just up to here. So this is kind of the strike length that we're talking about, from down here at the Big Vein Southwest all the way up to the north, off the top of the slide here. That's the 720 meters, and really it's been those two big step outs that we did, one up here and one down here recently, that added 150 meters to that strike length. So they were aggressive step outs. I'm glad they hit, because otherwise I'd be talking to the geologists. But we're all good. And yes, we do intend to continue stepping out there. And this kind of shows you why. So this is a model based on resistivity data, and the lines are potential faults or structures that have been interpreted from resistivity data. And this area down here is Big Vein. And so there are two things that we can see in Big Vein. One is this fault running through here, and the other one is this trend of the resistivity coming up here. And this is basically the trend of the mineralization that we see. So what we are doing is we're stepping out in this direction, and there's a big purple blob up here, and that purple blob is pristine, which is one of our other gold occurrences. The distance now between pristine and our last drill hole at Big Vein, that distance right here is about 600 meters, maybe, between Big Vein and pristine. So yes, this is in the plan. We're going to drill this gap. We call it the gap because it is a gap in our drilling, and that's on the cards for drilling this year. But the other thing that I want to point out while we are on this map is the the area to the west of Big Vein, and we'll see that in more detail in a minute. But if you think about this line coming down here and this interpretation coming over here, look, you've got this sort of Y. We see an exact replica of that coming down here. So this area here is also a prime target for drilling because structurally it looks very similar to what we see at Big Vein. So this area, and just bear in mind where it is in relation to Big Vein, because the next slide is, I think it's the next slide, is going to show us. So that here's Big Vein, different scale. We're zoomed out quite a bit, but so Big Vein is here, and that Pristine is here. So yeah, it's a very much smaller scale. But if we think about that structure that was going through here, it's coming through this area here, which we call Peter Easton. And so Peter Easton is going to be a big target. There's a lot of gold anomalies in here in both rock and soil, and that distance in the I'm making a mess of it here. I'll just get everything out of the way. The distance in that blue oval is about 1.7 kilometers of gold anomalism immediately to the west of Big Vein, where we see those structures interpreted from the resistivity. So yeah, lots of work to do and lots of exciting things to come for the rest of this year.
Absolutely. And Roger, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
No, I think, it's, these are our takeaways right now. I think we've had a good success rate with drilling our targets. We intend to keep that up. We are just before we stopped for breakup, we started drilling a new target called Dropkick. We have no results from it yet, but that's our sixth target. Hopefully the fifth successful one. We do have $15 million of cash in the bank, so everything that we're doing this year is fully funded. We don't need to look for more money, and that will last us well into next year. About 32,000 meters of drilling left, so lots of results still to come. Right now, I think I mentioned in the news release that there are about 3,000, maybe 3,500 meters of drill core in the lab that we're waiting on assays for. So there's still, the labs are doing a much better job of turning the assays around quicker, but obviously they don't keep up with the amount of core that our geologists log and sample and send to the lab. But so yeah, I think overall lots of work to be done, lots of exciting exploration drilling as well as step out drilling at Big Vein to come.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Roger. We'll have to have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Megan.